theme of this chapter is Upasana. A lot of time people think Kramamukti as the theme of this chapter. Kramamukti is incidental. The theme is Upasana. So that's point number one. Because if you take Upasana as the key theme for this chapter, it fits really well with the overall flow of the Gita. Because if you take Kramamukti as the theme, that may not align properly with the flow. So that's topic number one. And when we emphasize a lot on Upasana, Kramamukti is a byproduct. Krishna's focus is not on Kramamukti. Krishna's focus is to give us knowledge. So we need to be very clear on that. Second point before we start the verses is, the whole chapter started with 7 questions from Arjuna. These 7 questions arises because of Krishna's introduction of 6 technical terms and 1 statement. On chapter 7, verse 29 and 30, he introduced a lot of technical terms. What is Adibhuta? What is Adhideva? What is Brahman? What is Karma? What is Adhyatma? And what is Adhyajna? And then he said, a practicing yogi can keep his mind fixed on me at the time of departure. That is mainly on the Upasana. So 6 questions and 1 statement. Everything was confusing to Arjuna. Everything is confusing to us also. So to clarify that, Krishna answered this question. So in the first 4 verses, or first 2 verses, Arjuna raises the same questions. What is Brahman? What is Karma? What is Adhyatma? What is Adibhuta? What is Adideva? And what is Adhyajna? And how a person during his last moment can keep your mind unto you. These were the questions. And the 2 verses, like verse 3 and verse 4, Krishna answered 6 questions. What is Brahman? He defined Brahman as Aksharam, that which is imperishable, that which is the absolute reality of the universe, that which is the uncaused cause, nameless, formless, attributeless reality of the universe, Brahman. What is Adhyatma? That same Brahman, when it manifests at the micro level, that is known as Adhyatma. And what is the nature of Adhyatma? Swabhavam of an individual, the real nature of a being, living being. The consciousness in me is the consciousness which is the characteristics of the absolute reality. So at the micro level, you call it as Adhyatma. And essentially, Adhyatma and the Brahman are the same. It's like 2 point of views. And what is the third question? What is Adibhuta? Adibhuta is the material manifestation of the entire universe, which is absolutely required for all the living being, including their body and the mind. So entire material manifestation, again coming from Brahman, is Adibhuta. And what is Adhideva? Adhideva is the intelligent principle in each body, is governed by a macro level intelligent principle, which is the intelligent form, intelligent order of the universe, which controls everything in the universe, which is essentially but the manifestation of the absolute reality. We called it as Purusha, and that is what is Adibhuta. Adideva. And finally, Adhyajna means the presence of Ishvara is there in each one of our body. Symbolically, it stays there and monitors all the actions we do, all the karmas we do, faithfully records the karma and makes sure that we get the results of our action or karma properly. So that intelligent principle which resides in every body is Adhyajna. And who is that Adhyajna? Krishna says, I am the Adhyajna. It's my essence. I am there in the body. And then what is karma finally? Karma means any action you do, any conscious action you do, which creates the karmic path, which creates or determines the evolutionary path of myself, and collectively, which determines the evolutionary path of the universe itself. That is known as karma. So, very clearly, Krishna defined these 6 questions. And finally, we started seeing the 7th question. That's where we were. So, let's go and get into these verses. So, this is what answer 4, 5, and 6 we saw in the last class. Adibhuta, the perishable material elements supporting all the living beings. Very clear definition. What exactly is Adibhuta? Adhideva is the all-pervading intelligent order of the universe, supporting all the sense organs or devatas. The intelligent order, when it supports at the micro level or at an organ level, or for example, the eyes can see. So there is an intelligence working behind the eyes. That is a devata. So all these devatas are governed by a supreme devata or the Purusha or the Hiranyagarbha, and that is what is known as Adhideva. It's very clear. It is only symbolism. If you take the symbolism away, very logical. And Adhiyajna is the presence of that Ishvara residing in the body, closely monitoring actions and providing the results. This is the definition of Adibhuta, Adhideva, and Adhiyajna. We have seen this. And then we were started exploring the next topic, which is the topic 3. That is answer for question 7, which is verse 5 to 28. So we were reviewing the verse 5. So probably let's listen to that verse one more time and then we can proceed.
Antakale cha mameva smaran muktva kalevaram yah prayati samadbhavam yati nastyatra samshayah.
Yes, brilliant verse. So we understood the word by word meaning last time. So antakalecha mameva smaran muktva kalebaram. That individual who relinquishes the body. How? Fixing the mind on me, or a mind saturated with my thought. If you paraphrase, that is a better word. A mind that is filled with me, a mind that is constantly thinking about Ishvara, or a mind that is saturated with the thoughts of Ishvara. So what happens to him? He will come to me. There is certainly no doubt about it. This is what creates the confusion. So let me take a step back and try to explain one thing one more time, because I got a few questions over the chat. So this is what we said. We said, what is going to happen to an individual who remembers the Lord at the time of departure? So the confusion is remembering Lord at the time of death. So forget about that. Let's come to that in the next verse. We are going to talk about that. So what Krishna is going to talk about is an opportunity for spiritual growth, an opportunity for a divine departure. First point, what exactly is departing? Is it Atma? Is it the physical body? Or is it subtle body? The answer is subtle body. Because Atma, there is no movement for Atma. Physical body, we know that when you die, the physical body come to an end. So hope that is clear. So we are talking about the subtle body. The moment you talk about the identification with the subtle body, that means the person we are talking here, he is not enlightened. Point number 2. What is the path for enlightenment? Krishna already highlights that very clearly. For you to have enlightenment, the only way, again, the only way, when I say, I mean it. It's not that Krishna's way only, but there is only one path. It can be a path laid out by Christ. It can be a path laid out by somebody else, Buddha. That doesn't matter. But there is only one path, knowledge. If ignorance is the problem, the solution is knowledge. Now, before I approach knowledge, I need to have two things. One is I need to have an instrument which can understand that knowledge, which can take that knowledge, which is ready to take that knowledge. We already talked about this many times. We don't want to repeat it. That is Chitta Shuddhi and Chitta Sthiti. And what is Chitta Shuddhi? By Karma Yoga, I purify my mind. Upasana Yoga, I purify, meaning control my mind or stabilize my mind. And what is the focus of this chapter? Upasana. What is that for? To stabilizing my mind, to stabilize my mind. Now, what happens if a person is allergic to knowledge? He's a big devotee. He don't care about Vedanta. He don't care about Shravana, Manana and Nididhyasana. If that person, if he is not interested in knowledge, or even if he is interested in knowledge, he could not gain that knowledge. It is not very easy. What happens to such people? And what is there any path for that? So Krishna tells, usually what happens at the time of departure, Antakala. Please listen carefully. If you understand this, this is not very difficult. At the time of death, what determines my next life? We can coin a word which is called karmic path. The karma governs my next life. We all believe in that. It's not a matter to be proven, but it has to be believed, and we believe in that. Karma theory. My next birth is governed or determined by karmas, which is the prarabdha karma for the next life, which is a subset of the sanchita karma. Sanchita karma from the previous life, plus the agami karma I acquired this life, together forms the karmic repository. From that karmic repository, a subset is selected, and that is what is going to determine my next life karmic path. So the question is there any way for me to bypass this karmic path? If I get enlightened, it doesn't make it, you don't need, you are not affected by karma. That is point number one. So the question is, if I am not enlightened, is there any way for me to bypass this karmic path? Krishna tells, Upasana. If you practice this Upasana, if your mind is filled with Ishvara, then you can bypass this karmic path and you can take a shortcut to moksha. If this option is not available, what is going to happen? I will take the next birth and I have to learn Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam. I need to gain knowledge and I need to gain enlightenment. But the scriptures talk about one means, and this is what people say the bhakti can take you to the highest. Bhakti is not directly taking you to the highest. The bhakti gives me an opportunity to bypass this conventional karmic path. Because my life, my travel of my subtle body usually is governed, usually is determined by the karma. But if when at the time of my departure, if my mind is filled with the thought of Ishvara, let's rephrase that. That is more better. Remember means it implies a conscious action. Shankara tells, remembering means it is a conscious action. So rather than remembering, we can say that if at the time of my departure, if a lot of ifs, if my mind is soaked or saturated with the thoughts of the divine, what is going to happen? You can bypass the karmic path and you can get mukti or moksha in a two-stage approach. So what happens? My subtle body goes to Brahmaloka. Here I will be taught by the Brahmaji. Though these are all symbolic, right? So you understand that you get into a better place where you will be exposed to the teaching, and then you will get into the liberation mode. What is the difference between teaching here and teaching there? Here, I am constrained by the constraints of my body. I am constrained by so many things. There, your facilities will be high. You can get the teaching in a nicer environment. You can gain moksha. This is a matter of belief. We can choose to believe, not to believe. But Krishna's point was not to highlight this Kramamukti. His point was to highlight Upasana. Why Upasana is needed? Even if I need to get a Jivan Mukti, I need Upasana. So this is an added benefit of Upasana. Even if you don't seek knowledge, there is an opportunity. It is Kramamukti. So Kramamukti is a subtopic. It is not the main topic. Krishna's intent is not to go to that route. He is talking about, he is glorifying Upasana, not Kramamukti. Please understand that. That is very important. Lot of commentaries misses this point. So once again, he is glorifying Upasana, not Kramamukti, and Upasana is an absolute must-have even for Jivan Mukti. So this chapter, he talks about the Kramamukti, which is a bypassing the karmic path, and next couple of chapters, he's talking about the actual Jivan Mukti. So he covers the whole topic. But Arjuna, naturally, just like any one of us, was curious to know what happens after death. That is why he answered. This is very important. If you don't understand this, let's discuss this during the Q&A. So let's continue. So then, Kramamukti. So that is the topic which got introduced because of this emphasis on Upasana. So he was highlighting, Krishna was highlighting the power of Upasana. So when the body drops, meaning when the body dies, what happens? If the subconscious mind, understand this, it is not that the last thought should be Ishvara's thought. No. If the subconscious mind is locked in the thought of Lord, Ishvara, this is what Shankaracharya tells, this is brilliant. If the subconscious mind is locked in the thought of Lord, what happens? Such a person, what happens? He departs his journey. The journey of the subtle body is a special journey. Why? Because it bypasses the karmic path. That is why it is called Prayati. Yati means journey. Prayati means it's a special journey. A special journey through a different special route, right? So sometimes you have these HOV lanes and some special lanes. Like that, you get into a special path, and that is why it is called Prayati. And instead of coming back to this loka, he goes to Brahmaloka. So then, meaning, as I was explaining last week, when you talk about Brahmaloka, don't think about a glittering world with all these things. This is again think that as an higher plane of existence. And the journey to Brahmaloka symbolically said that through a path called Devayana Marga or Shukla Marga. All these symbolisms can throw us away. So please understand. That's it. And then what happens? Eventually you will get the Mukti at Brahmaloka, and this Mukti, which is a two-step Mukti. First thing is bypassing the karmic path, and second thing is that your subconscious is filled with the Ishvara Chinta. Then you go here, and then you will attain Mukti, and this is called Krama Mukti. Okay, so this is interesting. So let's continue. Now, the next point is, it's an opportunity for spiritual awakening and a divine departure. That sentence is very important, right? It's an opportunity for spiritual awakening, enlightenment. So Upasana, even why that statement is given, please don't think that it is my statement. I'm just translated it. It is great master statement. So look at that sentence. It's very, very deeply embedded with a lot of meaning. So it's an opportunity for enlightenment, even though Upasana is not meant for enlightenment. It is only as a condition setting, right? It is only as a not the it's needed, but it won't take you to the enlightenment. But that upasana can be used for a means for spiritual awakening indirectly. That is point number one. And it is a divine departure. Because your departure is not through the karmic path, which is the Shukla Marga, Krishna Marga. Don't these terms throw away from you. Krishna Marga means it is the conventional karmic path. Shukla Marga means it is the path of this Krama Mukti, Devayana Marga. So then the conditions are, the mind must be saturated with divine thoughts. How? Long and steady practice. We are going to see that. Second thing is that most of us, what would be our mind will be thinking or mind will be saturated at the time of death. About the problems or worries or anxieties. So one thing, especially in this country, meaning we have a lot of healthcare people here in this call, they know. One beauty about this country is what? They make your death a little bit more nice, or at least manageable. Okay, so in this country, what happens when you are about to die? They give you some drugs. Okay, in some countries like India, you won't get it, but here you get it to make your experience a little bit good. What is the advantage of it? Your death will be a little bit of manageable, painless. But what is the problem then? You won't be thinking about anything. So if in that scenario, how this is applied? So it's not the final thought you think, entertain. It is at that time what exactly is your subconscious is saturated. So in the commentary, the commentators brilliantly explains, right? How can you entertain a thought? To entertain a thought, you need to have a will and you need to have the vasana. Let's say that meditation. In the meditation seat, I want Lord Shiva's picture on my mind. That is the will. But if the vasana is not there, what is going to happen? If the meditation, samskara is not there? Okay. So, if the thoughts are always a byproduct of your samskara. So whatever that is the most dominant samskara of your mind at the time of your departure, that is what it means. It's not that exact last thought. Why this confusion happens? In Bhagavatam, there is a story of Ajamala, and a lot of people take that story, a distorted version of that story, and they think that last minute I can think about Narayana, and that too by mistake, I will be saved. But those people should go and read the story of the Ajamala once again. Ajamala's story is not like that. It was a dream. It was not his real death. In a dream, he saw that this particular incident happened in that dream. And when he saw that, there is an opportunity for me to get liberated. And that made him a devotee. And then he practices Upasana. That is what the story is. So conveniently what we do, we take that story, which is a dream happened in the actual story, and we distort the whole message. And then this intense spiritual sadhana throughout the life is needed to have your subconscious saturated with the divine thoughts. See, carefully chosen words by the commentators. The subconscious needs to be saturated with divine thoughts. This is the condition for the Krama Mukti. That's not easy. You cannot saturate your subconscious with divine thought with 1 or 2 or 3 days. It has to be a lifelong practice. And diligence and vigilance is necessary until the last moment to keep it like that. And keeping the light of knowledge bright until moment of death is very important, and that is why Upasana is needed. So this is what opportunity for spiritual awakening and divine departure. And even if you fail, what happens? It's okay. And the best case is what? The upasana will be very fast. I get the chitta shuddhi, chitta sthiti, and I can move forward. So this is please understand these different points here. Let's continue. Then what we are trying to do is we have faith in the Ishvara here, and we are aiming for the highest perfection, and we are staying focused till the last breath. And then finally, as a result, Krishna said, you will mat bhavam agataha. So you will gain my nature. You will merge with my nature. There is no doubt about it. So that is upasana. And this upasana is very powerful. The best embodiment of upasana is Hanumanji. Think of me only. See, this is one pointed focus on him. And the next verse, then you may ask, like, that means I need to drop my job? No, that's not what it means. Your base, like how it is explained in the scriptures, is like just like a musician. For him, that shruti, that base shruti is needed for singing. Every song is sang with respect to that shruti. When he raises the notes, low notes, high notes, everything is that shruti. So here the belief in Ishvara, the devotion to Ishvara is that baseline. And from that, you work and act in the world outside. Hanumanji is the classic example. And absorption of that divine, this is the key to liberation from the cycle of samsara. And seek refuge in that Lord, and you will, this is the real bhakti. The bhakti yoga we are going to see, and this is the bhakti. And the Lord grants moksha, even for that devotees. And it is said that Lord is so, if you go to that bhakti route, you will see how indebted Lord is for such people. I was reading Valmiki Ramayana the other day. I came across a verse at the end of Valmiki Ramayana. Rama talks to Hanumanji because his devotion is so good. By the way, we are doing the Hanuman Chalisa in Hindi on Sundays. Those who want, you can attend. These topics will come there. So when we are reviewing this topic, a verse came to my attention. Rama tells to Hanuman. Rama said, "Oh my dear friend, I cannot repay the help you given to me. It's impossible. The only way I can think of repaying some of your debts is only when you are in distress, and I don't want to see that. So I want these debts to be unpaid. I wish and grant you a boon that these debts of mine will be unpaid, because even for me to think about an opportunity is you to have some distress, and you will not have that distress." Look at the power of this verse. So much, the way Valmiki presented is brilliant. So Ishvara becomes a dasa for such devotees. So this something that we need to think about. And we posted a message also from Valmiki Ramayana. There is no bigger deity than time. That's also a brilliant verse from Ramayana. See, in a short video, we cannot give the whole meaning, right? What exactly it means is, God has given you the gift of this time. Every moment is so precious. What am I doing with it? So Ramayana tells me to do that time management and make the best out of it. Most of us take this time for granted. Think about this as a gift given to me by Lord, How can Ishvara, if you are a devotee, how am I using that gift? Very important, very powerful. So this Upasana is very powerful. And when should I start that Upasana? Right now. And I will tell you, this is Karma Yoga we talked about as one of the most powerful sadhana. Along with that, Upasana. It can change your life completely. Guaranteed. Forget about the Krama Mukti and all. You may not have an option to verify that. But power of Upasana, unbelievably powerful. Okay. So another advice to Rama. Why Vasishta? This is from Yoga Vasishta, a powerful book. He tells, it's not easy to keep the mind in the Lord, because the lust, all these inner enemies will constantly try to pull you away from Ishvara. And what you need to do? You need to practice yoga. Yoga means, here it is Upasana Yoga, Dhyana Yoga. You need to practice that and keep your mind till the last breath. This is very important. So next topic is, now let's go back to the verse 30 of the previous chapter. So Krishna said, right? He said, Prayana kale chichamam, at the time of their departure, they will come to know me. Vidur yukta chedasa, those whose mind connected with me at the time of departure, they will come to know me. Now we got the answer. How? So this was the question. So that's why I just highlighted that question. And this was the verse of the previous chapter. So we got the answer. So connecting the dots from verse 30, why that question arose, how that is answered, and now onwards it is going to be a little bit more elaboration of that topic. Okay, so this is the summary, verse 5. So what should be the attitude of man at the time of death? He should think about the Lord and nothing else. How is that possible? Meaning, what is the benefit of that? He will attain the Lord. And what is the duty? To remember the Lord in the life and in the death. If you don't remember the Lord in the life, you will not be able to remember the Lord at the time of death. So my one request is, if I'm deviating from the literal meaning of the verses, instead of saying remembering God, please use the word, the subconscious mind is saturated with God. Then it makes a lot of sense and it will be clear. Okay, so that is this verse. So let's go to the next verse, which is verse 6. Sanjay, you might be on mute. Yeah, he's on mute. So we will wait for him to come back. So Krishna tells, Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam. So whoever or whatever object a man thinks means what thought is saturated in the mind. What happens? When he leaves the body, that alone does he attain. O son of Kunti. And this is very important. Tat bhava bhavidaha. Whatever is the predominant idea in your subconscious mind or your mind, you gain that. This is the literal meaning. We'll see the detailed meaning. So, yam yam vapi smaran bhavam. So, whatever, then he say, Sanjay, you are there. Can you chant?
Sorry, Rajesh, I got my Zoom got hung actually.
No worries. We see two instances of Sanjay. So,
yeah. Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tyajatyante kalevaram tam tamevaiti kaunteya sada tat bhava bhavitaha.
yes. That is beautiful verse. So let's try to see the meaning once again. So he say yam yam means whatever. In Sanskrit, if you use these multiple, it indicates the plurality, right? Then he say yam yam va api. So even or smaran meaning remembering. Bhavam here means bhavana, thought. Bhavam here means remembrance. Then what? Tyajanti kalevaram. Kalevaram means the body. Tyajanti means give up. So at the time of your death, what exactly is the predominant thoughts happening in your mind? What exactly is the thoughts filled in your subconscious? Then what? He say, yam yam tam tam. Whatever that is filled in your mind at the time of your departure, then he say, tam tam eva. And that only, or that certainly, yeti gets. Kaunteya, Arjuna, he tells, Sada tat bhavam agataha. So you, tat bhava bhavitaha, you get into that, your karmic direction will be set forth by the predominant thought of your mind. So you need to think about two things. One is, if Ishvara is the predominant thought, what happens? You will take that Devayana Marga, go to the Brahma Loka, get Krama Mukti. But if not, still what we were told in the 6th chapter is what? The predominant thought will skew your karmic path. Let's say that if you are a yoga practitioner and you have been practicing yoga for a long time, but you didn't get that final thought or even enlightenment, still what happens? Your karmic path will be a little bit skewed. So you may reborn in this world, but definitely you will have that tendency for yoga. So this is how the Vedanta explains, or the religion explains, the prodigies. Somebody who is born with this talent. You know, right? Some people, they at the age of 3, they listen to the music and they can write. You don't just listening to a song. I saw a small kid who can listen to the song and play the keyboard. You don't need a notation at all. How is that possible? There was a small kid. When I was a kid, like there was a small kid in Kerala. His name was Clint. At the age of 7, he passed away. But look at the pictures he has drawn. Amazing. Like that, prodigies are there. Some people chant Bhagavad Gita at the age of 4. You see such talent. So karmic path will definitely influenced by the previous birth if where the mind is saturated. So that's number 1. So now let's see the yoga prashta exactly. So that is for yoga, but it can be the other way also. So in Bhagavata, there is a famous story called Jataparada. Jataparada was a very knowledgeable person. He wanted enlightenment. He was spiritual. But during his final moments, he developed an attachment towards a deer. He saw a small deer and he developed like a child. He had a lot of attachment for that deer. Every time, like when he go to bed, he was thinking about that deer. Eating, he was thinking like a child. He was seeing that deer. And he was worried, like what happens to this deer if I'm not there? So his mind was full on that deer. And the Bhagavata tells, next birth he was born as another deer. This is an exaggerated story, but just shows that the karmic gati of karma, it will skew the normal path, right? If you take his sanchita karma, he has a lot of other karma. But what happened? At that final moments, his mind was filled with this thought. So this is what is illustrated. So let's go to the details of the verse. So this is very important again. So whatever is the predominant thought, this is very important, underline that. This is what exactly it is. Whatever is the predominant thought at the time of departure would set the direction of the next life. We know that. Predominant thought. And what exactly is the predominant thought? It is shaped by the tendencies. And then frequent thinking about a particular form of the objects create strong tendencies. And the thoughts and contemplation at the time of death, even if you are not thinking, what is filled with the subconscious, it is determined by the tendencies you have. So the power of thoughts, what exactly you contemplate throughout the life, that is what is going to determine what is filled in your subconscious. So this is why we say mindful thinking, very important. Because whatever you think, whatever you entertain, through whatever you considered as valuable during the life, that is what goes to the subconscious. And what is the predominant makeup of the subconscious at the end of our life? It is going to determine the gati of next life. So it could be a karmic cycle or it could be a krama mukti. Even within karmic cycle, it could be what type of birth you get, where you get, everything will be determined. So it's very important for us to watch our thoughts. There is a famous proverb, right? Watch your thought. We'll see that in a minute. But this is very important. And what is the summary of this verse? What shall be the nature of the future birth? It is determined by the idea or this object which dominates the mind at the time of death. This is very important. Not the last thought, but idea or the objects or what exactly dominates the mind at the time of death. And then how can you retain the spiritual thought at the last moment? It is only by the whole life of sadhana. That is the simple answer. And this is very significant. And what I'm trying to convey here is, even though Krama Mukti is the topic that is coming, but where exactly is Krishna is going? He is trying to emphasize the importance of Upasana. He's saying that do Upasana, do Upasana, do Upasana. And very important, because the Upasana is going to fill the mind with that type of thoughts. And naturally, there is an opportunity to get saturated with the subconscious with Ishvara's thing, Ishvara Chindana. And if that happens, you will get the Krama Mukti. That's it. That's the right way of putting it. So let's continue. Next verse. Sanjay, you can chant.
Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mamanusmara yudhyacha mayyalpitamano buddhi mame vashyasya samshayam.
One verse we need to keep in mind, and this is the verse of this chapter. So he say, Tasmat, therefore. And this is why he said, like, this chapter is focusing on what? He said, Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu, not marana kala. So I don't know how in the world people take this idea and go away from this chapter. Not at all. Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu, always. Ma manusmara, keep your mind filled with me. Then naturally you will, Shankaracharya tells, then you will have a doubt. That means, how do I go and work? Swami Dayananda used to joke a story. It's a real incident. He said somebody studied Gita, and then he read this verse, and he's like, Ma manusmara yudhyaja, always think about me. So whatever he does, he says Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya. Then he said, so he met Swamiji. He said, Swamiji, when did you got initiated? Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya. So that's not what it meant. So keep me. That is why the example of the Shruti is important. Just like the musician's eye is always on the Shruti, right? If he deviates from the Shruti, he knows. He cannot perform his action, which is singing, without listening to the Shruti. But if he is only focusing on the Shruti and not on the song, that is also not correct. Because the raga means the notes will go, arohanam, avarohanam, and everything will come. But keeping in the pitch is very important. Like that, keep your mind on me, and then ma manusmara, fill your mind with me. Keep baseline, I would coin a new word, baseline your mind in me, and then yuthyaja. Yuthyaja means what? It is a nimitta word. For Arjuna, it is a war. For me, what? My duties. So go and do your duties. So he didn't say that, okay, you should leave the world and go to Himalayas and sit, chant Hare Krishna. No. Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu ma manusmara yuthyaja. Then he say, how you should do? My arpita mano buddhi. My arpita mano buddhi. Your mind, your emotional mind and in rational intellect, give it to me. You have a love for Ishvara and you have a conviction for Ishvara. Not a blind faith. A faith always meaning that love for Ishvara comes from the mind only. It's a feeling. But that has to be reinforced with intellectual understanding. Otherwise, it's a blind faith. So, my arpita manobuddhi. Right? And then he said, that person will asamshaya. That person will come to me for sure. So, this is the ideal way of life prescribed. This is the essence of Upasana. My arpita manobuddhir. Then what? Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu ma manusmara. A mind that and with emotional mind and intellect on me, you go ahead and do your duty. That is the thing. Those who read Bible, you know, right? The famous verse, the commandment. What? Love your God with all your heart, all your mind. It's there in Gita also. Maya arpita manobuddhi. 12th chapter it also comes in. This is the bhakti. This is defined in the 12th chapter. Maya arpita manobuddhir yome bhaktaha sachame priyaha. Who is the greatest devotee of mine? A devotee, like 12th chapter Krishna defines, enumerates the characteristics of the devotee. Yasmano uddijate loko, lokano uddijate vaya. Those who is not afraid of the world, and those the world also should not be afraid of. That is characteristics number 1. Right? Then adveshta sarvabhudana maitra karuna evacha. The one who loves everybody. And then what? That type of characteristic can be exhibited only when your mind and intellect rests on me. Baselining on me. That's it. That is very important. Just like a musician baseline his singing on the Shruti, you should baseline your thoughts on me. That's what it is. So this is the few more points. Let's quickly see that. One is final thought pattern shapes the karmic path and the nature of rebirth. These 4, if you understand these 4 bullet points, it is clear. Final thought pattern shapes the karmic path and the nature of rebirth. We all know that. If you have any doubt, tell me. Then mental makeup or framework at the time of departure, that is what is going to influence the final thought pattern. Look at the sequence. Very clear. The final thought pattern determines what? The karmic path and the type of rebirth. And what exactly determines the mental makeup? It is the mental makeup or framework is going to determine the thought pattern. And now, the subconscious mind plays a crucial role in the mental makeup. So, how do you control your subconscious? The subconscious mind you cannot directly program. How can you indirectly program the subconscious mind? When you are conscious, put nice thoughts there. Fill the conscious mind with Ishvara's thoughts. This is the sequence. Important instruction. for all spiritual seekers. This is what it is. Fill your mind with Ishvara's thoughts. This is the logical sequence given by Gita. So now, what happens? The future is manifested because of this power of thought. There is a famous proverb again, right? As one think, so he becomes. Very true. So choosing the noble thoughts and spiritual thoughts, it will shape our future. And this reinforces the importance of mindful thinking, because mindful thinking will transform the future. So you need to nurture divine thoughts, and that is going to lead to it's a pathway to the supreme. So practice this divine mindset, devotion, dhyana, study, all these things are going to help you. And finally, this will influence our future birth and our karmic path, even if you don't get the liberation. So this is very important verse from that perspective. Again, a lot of time the highlights goes to the other side. So mind's power in shaping freedom or bondage, right? So this spirited sadhana or the spiritual practice, it is recommended from the childhood to purify the mind and protect it from the negative, because otherwise what is going to happen? You cannot control these type of patterns. Then each individual is personally responsible for his bondage or freedom, what he cultivates. Everybody can only advise, but it has to be a subjective practice, right? So what exactly is their perception, that is going to determine the moksha or bandhana. So that is why mana eva manushyanam karanam bandha mokshayo. The type of birth or the liberation from the cycle of birth, everything is determined by this mental makeup. And again, this long-term practice and cultivation of these samskaras are very much important. And this is, just look at this diagram, right? So what we are saying is the subconscious mind alone can be influenced through the conscious mind. So what you need to do, introduce Ishvara Smaranam, remembrance of the divine in the conscious mind, and gradually saturate the subconscious mind. If you do the Ishvara Smaranam, always that will saturate your subconscious, and at the time of death, what happens? The predominant thought pattern is divinity, and that is going to take you to the Brahmaloka, and that is going to take you to the enlightenment. So keep the mind and intellect absorbed in the divine and continue to engage in the activity. And this is the Upasana. And this practice will modify your thinking pattern and facilitates personal transformation. And this requires a lot of self-effort. So let me take, if you don't mind, let me take 3 more minutes and finish the verse. One is the latest studies in the neurology. It just reaffirms conscious thoughts and this intention can influence the wiring of the brain. This is proven. Then like a lot of these upasana practices such as affirmations, visualization, positive thinking, it can help to reprogram your mind. So this cultivating of the Ishvara Smaranam, it can act as a powerful tool for you in the future. This is very important. And it's not just the Sanatana Dharma emphasize this, almost all the religious tradition emphasize this point. So these are some of the how to influence the subconscious. And finally, we will just see a poetry. Let me play that for you. Emphasizing the power of Upasana.
Divine embrace. In ceaseless thought, the supreme I hold, his name upon my lips, his presence untold. His unwavering devotion, my heart does sing, hearing, thinking, meditating on him. No matter when that's embrace draws near, with the Lord's name I have naught to fear. For in my mind his essence ever shines, a beacon of light, a love that intertwines. O sweet surrender to the divine's embrace, in Ishvara's Upasana I find solace and grace. With every breath, his name I adore, forever connected, now and evermore.
This captures the essence of this verse. Keep your mind and intellect filled in Ishvara. This is a product of our work. Avantiji's voice he created. A small team is working on such poetic rendition of every verse and more to come. This is only the beginning. This is the first one. Okay, so we can wind up this verse
Divine
right now. So I just wanted to quote a proverb also here. This is also very popular. Watch your thoughts, they becomes the words. Watch your words, they become actions. Watch your actions, they become habits. Watch your habits, they become your character. Watch your character because they become your destiny. So, tasmat sarveshu kadeshu ma manusmara yudhyaja. So, when to think about the God? This is the summary. Always and forever. Then what you need to do? How do you balance the worldly duties when you think about God always? Perform them with a mind and intellect immersed in Ishvara. Think about the baselining idea we talked about. And what is the fruit of surrender? You will attainment of the Ishvara. Mat bhavam agabaha. That's it. So we covered up to here. And that covers 3 verses. We covered 5, 6 and 7.